Hi, good afternoon. So, first things first, all those questions that were sent to you as to what you would be asked to answer, they're all out of the window. Okay, we're not going to ask those questions. We're going to surprise you a bit. And the reason I want to do that is because some of the students from my college are here, and the feedback they gave me was that all the panels are saying great things, but they're only talking about the good things. Nobody is really addressing the challenges you still have. So we should be talking about that. And clearly, since the topic is about talent, and seemingly it is the biggest challenge the industry faces today, nobody is worrying about business, about occupancy, about rate, but everybody is worried about talent. So let's talk about the gaps in the talent landscape for you as employers. And then Kamal and I are going to gang up as educators and question you a bit more about what you're doing in terms of training. So in no particular order, Yogendra, you want to go first?
Hello, everyone. It's indeed a pleasure to be here, and last 2 days have been really exciting. It's a privilege to be here. I think the real challenges what we are facing from a talent point of view is about, of course, the number one challenge is about skilling, right? So the quality of people who are coming out of our hotel schools or other vocational training programs, there is still a mismatch between the expectation versus what we really want them to deliver on the ground. So that's the challenge number one. I think the second very important challenge is about the compensation. Especially the kind of compensation we pay in our industry. It is really limiting many young talent to work with us in hospitality. Third important...
Sorry, you said competition.
Compensation.
Compensation.
Compensation, yes. Third important point I would like to highlight is, which is the real need of today's generation, the young kids, is about maintaining work-life balance. So I think that's a key need for the generation, and that's where we as hoteliers need to come up with some innovative practices to, attract and retain talent within the industry. And last but not the least, and I think all of us are equally responsible for it, is how do we really engage and treat our future generation, the youngsters who are coming for internship in our hotels. How do we really treat them? I think that's one of the biggest challenge we are facing in our business.
Okay, so I think my sense is that these challenges are common to all. So since Yogendra addressed the challenges, maybe our other panelists can talk about what steps have been taken, are being taken, being planned to be taken to address these issues, specifically quality of students coming in, which is a challenge for us as educators, compensation, work-life balance, internship experience. So Vinay, let me go with you first.
Sure, Dilip. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a real pleasure to be here with my fellow esteemed panelists and Dilip. I think Yogesh kind of mentioned most of the challenges. I just want to, Dilip, sorry, I just want to mention one challenge which kind of goes beyond the realm of HR per se, which is the culture mismatch or fit, if I may say so. You would see that post-pandemic, the workforce which is coming into our industry, the millennials, let's be honest about it, there's been a huge shift in their mindset, the way they look at work. And our industry typically has been a very traditional industry insofar as work processes are concerned. So what I have seen in the last 2-3 years is that there is what I call a healthy clash of what the millennials want and what the industry was structured typically from a mindset point of view. And as they say in Hindi, with the manthan, I'm hoping that something nice will come out of it. We are already, most of us, I think, operator agnostic most of us are waking up to this reality. We are going beyond the usual talent management stuff or learning and development stuff and looking at some of the initiatives which really impact these millennials or they value them. Like, for example, I would like to put on place something very fundamental like work-life balance. And I'm proud to say that in the last 2 years, Marriott has looked at the way we make our people work in shifts. There's something known as life on time, which is being driven in Marriott right at the board level, which ensures that now almost 75% of our associates, and I can tell you 75% for a 27,000 head count can be quite a number, adhere to their 9-hour shift. Now this may sound very, very basic, but good or bad or ugly, that we've somehow gone wrong in these fundamental things. And we are working on it through various technological intervention, various behavioral intervention, reward recognition mechanism. I'm sure most of other panelists will also have such measures, but I thought I want to put on table a very fundamental concept of making sure that our associates work the required shift, not an hour extra, not a 15 minutes extra, and devote equal importance to life beyond workspace.
Great. So, Deepali, besides any other challenges you want to address, in terms of how you can build a more diverse workforce, one is about the millennials themselves, but within them, whether it is gender, whether it is anything else, that seems to be an issue still. So, is it a challenge IHG is doing anything uniquely to address? Talk about that.
Sure, but I'll just delve on your earlier thing about challenge, and I'm possibly the newest person from a hospitality industry here. My first stint, so to say, in hospitality. I think one of the things that this industry definitely should do is to not just look at jobs creation. I think we have to think from jobs to building careers, and that can happen if we make this industry very aspirational for our youth and the incoming talent. I think IHMs that today are kind of struggling to even fill their complete seats. And when I started my career, it was a big deal to get into IHMs. And I think I would urge everybody in this room to play a big role on that. From a diversity perspective, I think, again, it is about building that culture. What is the organizational ethos? And at IHG, we are very, very equipped to do that. And I'm very proud to say that in the last 18 months, we've actually taken a 4% increase in the women workforce that we have currently today. And it is something that is getting into the DNA of the organization. We are also very happy to state here that we have taken measures from a culture standpoint at every location and educated our people onto even in making the workplace inclusive. So we have over about 125 odd people who are working with us across our estate who are people with disabilities currently, and it's growing all the more. We've taken targets, our people have taken targets to build that inclusivity, but it doesn't happen overnight. So you have to build it in a process form. First is the mindset, that is what we have challenged, and we are still in the process of taking it forward. I'm sure, for example, we don't think engineering jobs are for women, and I'm sure every woman in this room would disagree, and everybody else. And opening those roles for them and providing them those opportunities and creating that success stories is a great way to make that work for us. Building that flexibility in workplace is something that we've picked up, and definitely that has seen a big increase in women workforce joining us. Our policies and support groups that we've been able to create are a great success measure again for us. I can give many more examples of what we do at IHG to support that, but it's a journey, and we are very committed to do that.
Okay. Sanjay, the pioneers in most things, ITC hotels, right from the time, whether it's Vaksha, whether it's WMI, talent has always been something which IT's had a strong focus on. Anything you guys, I know you're doing a lot, but maybe you want to talk to us about the challenges of what you're not able to do, keeping in mind this young millennial workforce everybody keeps referring to.
So here's the thing, we talk about millennials, we talk about Gen Z, we're now talking about Gen Alpha. And everyone seems to think that there are different things which this generation needs.
Sorry, Sanjay, thoda.
Fundamentally, I don't think that there is anything different which Gen Z needs or Gen Alpha needs compared to what baby boomers like we needed, right? Fundamentally, it's about three things: about how I grow, how I enjoy my work, and how do I get time to look after my family, right? These three fundamental things don't change whether it's for Gen Z, Gen Alpha, or baby boomers. The key is how do you make your policies which are not uniform for everyone, but are flexible enough to suit different people with different requirements and different needs. You know, when you're talking about diversity, Dilip, when work from home started, it was such a big fad, right? And I'll give you two cases of ladies who were at two different ends of the WFH. So there was this lady who had a small infant who was living with her in-laws in a two-bedroom house and hated WFH because she had the support system, but she was cooped in a two-bedroom house with her kid, with her in-laws, and trying to address calls on Zoom, etc., whatever was there at that point of time. The worst thing which could happen for her was WFH at that point of time. She loved the option to come back to office and work from office. And then, of course, there was the other end where somebody didn't have a support system and she was just too grateful for having WFH. So the key which I'm trying to bring here is whether it's for learning and development, whether it's for career growth, whether it is for benefits policies, the key here is that you find flexibility to give a person what he needs and not impose what the company thinks the person needs, you know. So compensation. We talk a lot about compensation, right? There are certain people in my age bracket who value benefits more than compensation, money in hands, right? I wish I was, you know, when I was 25 years old, somebody told me the power of investment so that I could make my choices. So fundamentally, when we talk about talent, the challenge of talent is not about generations or segments. It's about what organizations are doing to address individual aspirations and needs. And I think that's where the key is.
Right. So, Kamal, when Yogendra spoke first, he mentioned quality of talent coming in is not what they want. You run one of the most reputed hospitality schools, the oldest. Your alumni are CEOs of all the big hotel companies, as IHA Pusa. So, firstly, do you agree that the quality of talent coming out of your colleges is not equipped for what their needs are? And number two, is the problem with us in educating them, or is the problem with the industry in terms of how they're treated when they do their internships or when they start working?
Thank you, Dilip, for this thought-provoking question and being so kind to my institution and myself. I think you have pointed out very correctly. I think somewhere along the line, the educational institutions have failed the industry. The onus was on the educators to really structure the input in their institutions, which would take care of the needs of the industry. We do understand that every organization is like a pyramid, and maximum number of people are required at the bottom of the pyramid. What we have been busy doing all these years is we have tried creating too many chiefs and we forgot about creating Indians. So that is the situation. And what this situation has led to is that you kept on, doling out people who were prepared to assume the supervisory roles and the junior management roles. And in absence of the right kind of talent, the industry was forced to employ these people or push these people to start at the rock bottom spaces. So what was happening from the economy's point of view, it was 2 times waste, A lot of resources were getting deployed in preparing these people for certain skill sets. And the industry was not putting these skill sets to use at all. Right. So this was something, which created this kind of a problem. What I feel is going forward, I want to flag an issue because the way the world demographics are going, it's an alarming thing. The other day I was reading in the Times of India maybe some of the armies in the first world are looking at, Indian soldiers, the mercenaries, to fight the wars for them.
Right.
So this is exaggeration, but I'm sure being in the leading hospitality institution of this country, I have hosted so many delegations from geographies like Northern Europe, Germany in particular, and from Japan, wherein the recruiters want to come down to India and recruit en masse for their industry. It's the meat processing industry, particularly in Germany, and this talent crunch going forward is going to get worse. It is not going to get any better. So it's a very grim kind of a situation, but I'm still very optimistic. There are certain hopes. We can take some measures. In fact, I joined this iconic institution 7 years back. And first year, after assuming this thing, I made some course correction. Rather than producing too many undergraduate degree holders and graduate degree holders, I increased the number of seats, at the diploma level. And I'm continuing doing that. There is a tourism task force, which is working at the moment. Some of the leading lights of the industry, Mr. Kachru and Mr. Chadda and Dr. Josha Suri, all such people are there on that committee. And this is exactly what we are trying to do that. And I think assuming the chairmanship of the hospitality and tourism discipline in All India Council for Technical Education, I think this is the agenda I would be putting forward. So the course correction needs to be done. I will take a little bit of reference. You said this is the oldest institution. The founder of IHM Pusa, Sir Cyril Belford Smith, I had the privilege of going through some of the documents he presented to the government of India some 60 years back. And what he had proposed was for 3 IHMs in Delhi, Kolkata, and Chennai, there were 11 foodcraft institutions. So 1 IHM for mid-level management positions, 11 foodcraft institution at the rock bottom. What is the situation now? We have an ecosystem wherein 97 IHMs are there in this country, and there is less than a dozen foodcraft institutions. So how skewed this situation is that answer
Yeah,
the
I mean,
question.
you're right. It's such a big challenge. I'll just come back to you. Just before this, the panel spoke, skills is what's required, the blue-collar workforce, and you've got over 100 IHMs. In my view, the way the IITs built up reputation, there were 5 of them, right? But they became like just iconic. Take the IIMs. Even in the IHM system, pick out the 10 best, build them as great management schools. All the others should become really skill centers. You've got the infrastructure, you're located in the right places, states, capitals, all of that. So indeed, there is some regulatory change required there. Basis what he's saying, this grim reality, all of you and your CEOs, country heads talk about how many rooms are growing, how many signings you do, how many openings you do, 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 rooms coming up, multiply that by even 1.5 ratio, the number of people you need. Isn't it a real concern? I mean, we're talking about it, every conference we talk about it, but for some reason, this does not come across as a perception to people who want to come to our industry. They don't see us as being an attractive industry. These same long hours, work-life balance, compensation, these issues require some systemic changes. It can't just be that ITC is doing this or Marriott is doing this or IHG is doing this. It's got to be a collective effort to really change the entire perception of how the hospitality industry is viewed as, because if you do ask young students, in my college, for example, less than 30% of our graduates opt to work in the hotel industry. And of that 30%, less than half of them want to work in operations. The same perception, underpaid, overworked, broken shifts. तुम तो 9 hours की shift करो, people still believe कि hotels में broken shifts में काम होता है. So who's changing this perception? And what are you guys doing about that? I would like all of you to address that issue. Yogendra, we can go with you.
All right, so I'll try to kind of, since I spoke about the challenges, I'll like to add on to what Kamal mentioned. I think the collaboration between industry and academia is very, very critical for the success of the industry, right? So we have to see it from that point of view. And what we are doing, just to let you know, some of the recent initiatives and activities we have initiated at Radisson is that we have we are mentoring, we have signed an MOU with 4 IHMs, including IHM Pusa, IHM Srinagar, IHM Gurdaspur, and Gwalior, where we will provide our support in terms of mentorship, student development, faculty development as something we have initiated. Secondly, we are also looking at, we have created a campus ambassador program where we are trying to mentor the students and create a calendar of engagement activities throughout the year, not only with the final year students, but from first year till third year. We are creating a kind of an engagement plan for them where we are creating campus ambassadors in the institutes, and we are piloting it with 8 hotel schools right now across the country. So that's something we are doing. Recently, we have also reworked and revamped our complete campus hiring programs, including management trainees to supervisory development to entry level, where we, depending upon the need of the business and need of the talent, we have reduced the time span. It's just a 12 months program now, instead of 18 months, 24 months in the past. So that is something we are doing. Our supervisory development program is only 9 months now. So we try to kind of fast track the program. And not only at hotel level, in fact, for corporate roles. And in fact, we are collaborating with ISH there, where we are doing corporate capstone projects for our students who want to get into corporate role. And there are, as rightly mentioned, most of them are non-operational functions, but that's something we are doing to handle the situation on the ground.
So we are actually working structurally at 3 levels. We have adopted 56 academies, which are not necessarily the A-grade academies, which is the IHMs today. But we are looking at talent. We are working with those academies in terms of providing them apprentices. We're trying to give them internships. We are also ensuring that our people go there and mentor and coach them and be guest faculties at those institutions. And you'll be surprised that today, 18% of our workforce is actually coming from those 56 academies, and they are working with us as full-time executives. We've also done work with government, with NSPC.
Sorry, what kind of academies?
These are academies which are in smaller academies in different locations in B and C class towns, and we work with them very closely. So every hotel has 1 to 2 academies associated with them. So there is an absolute focused approach. So if there is something in Chandigarh, that's not IHM, but it's another institution where we are working with them on a regular basis, year on year. And we have built a connection with them over the last 2 years, which makes IHG the partner for them in everything that they want to do. That's really done very well for us. And today, like I said, 18% of our workforce is coming from there. We've also partnered with NSDC, and we have trained 1,200 people, approximately about 1,197 to the count, to ensure that we provide them skilling opportunities in our hotels. We have hired some of them, but they're also getting skilled for the hospitality industry. That's a partnership that we're doing with the government. And what Yogendra just talked about, we're working with 13 IHMs across the country, where we've signed an MOU very, very recently, which is what you talked about, and we met there as well, to not only take students, but also collaborate, where we place IHG and as a career place for them and not a job place for them. Right. So those are some of the things. But a very important point, Dilip, that you said, what are we doing to make the change? And I think it's not just about attraction, it's also about development, to give them a career. It's also about retaining them in the industry, because they have many more options today than they ever had before. So one of the initiatives that we took last year, and very clearly today, it has shown us big results, is about 90% of our estate is 5 days work week. And this is something that we are following to the T. Our internships policies, we have defined it, their stipend, so that they do not think that they're doing a menial job. They should be paid as good as other industries. And we are not benchmarking ourselves against the world of hospitality, but as interns that they would go to A-grade organizations outside. That has also helped us hiring And this, the word your own employees work well for you. And today, 13% of our employees are joining us through referrals. And innovation, what innovation can we bring them? I think the best is to have the people engage. Engagement is a very important thing. For something very uniquely that we very recently, last 2 years, have done is build a campaign where we are elevating their everyday employee experience at the workplace, whether it is their heart of the house or the walkways that they come from, the entry levels they come from. We get flexibility to change that. They also get funds to change that at each unit. And that's really built in a lot of pride to where they're coming and also enjoy their everyday work experience. So whether it is building gyms for them, because these are the needs. And also, of course, there are multi-generations working in a hotel. How do you deal with that? But what collectively all this has led for us is a 17% drop in our attrition this year.
Fantastic. So the big boy, the largest hotel group, 156 hotels, 27,000 employees. This industry, academia, collaboration, is it happening? Does more need to happen? What can be done better? How can you lead that given your scale and size? Talk about that, Vinay.
Yeah, Dilip, you rightly said we are opening almost a hotel every month, and that's going to be the run rate, if not more, for the next 3 years basis the signing. So we do understand the whole gamut of getting talent, and that's why I think it's important to leverage the entire ecosystem. And I would not like to just mention few IHMs or few Skill India or few other opportunities which lie with us as far as talent infusion is concerned. There has to be a complete holistic outlook towards the ecosystem which exists at the moment for our industry. So just to give you a case in point, as much as we work very, very closely with the IHMs, with the Vakshas of the world to induct top quality talent at the Voyager level, which is the management level, we've also opened up gates with ISH to look at postgraduate entrants. We are also working with Job Plus and few other partners on inducting talent from the local communities. There are hotels coming up in tier 3, tier 4 cities. We are also looking at some of the underrepresented subsections of the society, like the people with disabilities. I know Lemon Tree has done some fantastic work. We've got a lot to learn from them in terms of mainstreaming, and I was reading that there is a huge potential which lies in picking up some really top-class associates from that subsection of the society. Just to give you an idea or give a perspective, this year we've also launched a project by the name of Project Pranita, where we picked up nearly 210 girls fresh out of high school who are from underprivileged background and whose education is being fully sponsored by the hotel in partnership with IGNOU, so that 3 years they remain on the hotel payroll, their education is looked after, and then they get mainstreamed as an associate. So what I'm trying to say is the entire ecosystem has to be leveraged to look at the talent demand. And as you look at it externally, your internal ecosystem also has to be leveraged, because getting talent into the hotel is just not enough. How do you plug that leaky bucket is also very important with respect to attrition. And that's where fair competent practices, fair work-life balance, engagement strategies, all that comes into play. And promoting from within, we now see more and more management graduates getting catapulted into management levels at a much younger age, at a much lesser work experience. So how do your learning and development mechanism work in a way to give general management exposure to them at a much younger age group, at a much younger service levels? So all those things have to be looked for, catered for, to really make the most of the opportunity which is there with us.
Indeed, indeed. Sanjay, again, as the leading player in the Indian industry, all what you're hearing your colleagues talk about, what is it? Because I know that ITC differentiates itself so brilliantly, sustainability, the environment, all of those kind of things. Does any of that play a role when it comes to the talent? Does that allow you to better attract, better develop, or better retain, given what uniquenesses ITC hotels have?
Before I answer that, I'll just want to make a point. See, going back to the initial point, Dilip, when you said about ITC being pioneers, etc. The point is, it's about changing with the game, right? So when ITC set up Vaksha or set up ITC HMI for that matter, it was first in the industry, and that I think was the requirement for the industry. Today, our game has changed. Now you're playing T20, right? So one of the things that we have turned around is we have democratized our campus hiring, right? Typically, we used to go to 50, 60 campuses and look for the best talent there, select those 50, 60 campuses with care and say, okay, top 10 IHMs and the balance, whatever. Last week, we did an online assessment across 300 campuses in India. 10,000 students were touched, 4,000 took our assessment, right? So to the last C city where there's a hotel management college or something which is related to do with hospitality, we have been able to touch. So I think we need interventions like these, which are going to turn the game. When you look at where you're sourcing the talent from, I don't think that India has a problem of talent. I think it's about our mindset of going to look at the defined pools that we go to find talent. So that was point one. Point two is about developing the talent. It's about not looking at square pegs for round holes, right? If you're looking at management talent, you go to certain areas and give them certain inputs to develop them as managers. But our problem of talent today is primarily at the bottom of the pyramid. How do you find people with good attitude, who have service orientation inbuilt into them, and then you give them the basic skills to serve people? So I think that, and we are lucky, we are living in an age where the government, where the external industry is coming together. We have Natwar and so many other initiatives in terms of skilling. Rajan's Hospitality Council is doing so much work. I think we need to wake up and we need to identify opportunities that we can maximize. I think that's something that we need to do as an industry. If we are able to do that, I think we'll be able to sort this talent crunch a little better than we are doing now. Okay, coming to sustainability, Dilip, your question. We are sustainable. We have met the COP30 Paris guidelines 5 years before it was due. We'll meet the COP50 guidelines before COP30 sets in. That's fine, But what does it mean to an individual student? When we go to campuses, we don't talk about COP30, COP50 guidelines. We don't say that I'm, 100% waste management and 80% recyclable energy, etc. We say, would you like to work for a company which gives one additional day to the planet for your children and your grandchildren? Or would you like to work for a company which gives you, let's say, international exposure? What would you... Today's generation is so aware, and there are certain principles that they don't want to compromise for. This rings a bell somewhere. For the people, and for us, it's a double win, right? I am getting people whose values match with my organization, and therefore the stickiness is more, we can grow them better. The chances of them moving on for something which is not resonating with them is lesser. And secondly, I am getting talent which believes in what we do. Right? A lot of my people take a lot of pride when they say that, okay, we are working in a hotel which does not use energy, which recycles all its energy, which is carbon positive, water positive for the last 17 years. It takes a lot of pride, and it's, So for us, I think when we get into Gen Z, Gen Alpha, these kind of things are going to matter more. Having said that, fundamentals like basic compensation, ability to grow, fair and human treatment, I don't think those are ever going to change. That's not under question.
Okay. Kamal, there's always been one complaint from the industry that curriculums have not kept up with the times, technology innovations in the IHM system, and sometimes it's blamed on the government, sometimes it is, I don't know what, but is there something changing within the ecosystem? Are you more flexible with curriculums now? Is it more updated? Give the confidence to the industry.
Yes, actually, thank you very much for this very important question. We came across a report 2 days back in ET. A very bleak picture was painted in that.
Yes.
But I want to assure this August gathering today that with the onset of this new education policy and with the tie-up of IHMs in general with the Jawaharlal Nehru University, you are going to see most updated curriculum, rolling out. We are already in the second year of the new curriculum, and there is a total paradigm shift as far as the curriculum is concerned. We are going easy on some of the too technical things, about textiles and WAFT and WAP and those kind of things we have pulled out. We have merged the departments of front office and housekeeping together. We are calling it rooms division management. And in place, we have replaced with a lot of life skill, soft skill kind of elements. Very interesting thing is, I've always been telling this thing that hospitality jobs are high stress jobs. Most of the time when you are having guest contact, there's a lot of emotional labor that you have to put in. And you need to have people who are in the fittest of the condition. And now, first year when the new kids are joining this institution, they have to essentially practice yoga. It is part of the curriculum, and these people have to pass practical as well as a theoretical element in that. There's another course which has been introduced, which is about employability skills. How do you present yourself? The finishing kind of stuff, which is there. On entrepreneurship, there is a very strong course which has come in there. And realizing, that a lot of graduates from hospitality schools go to allied sector. Retail is one of the largest recruiter. E-commerce is another very large recruiter for the talent from the IHMs. So there are courses on retail management, and most importantly, in the digital world, there are courses, which are there for digital marketing and having your digital presence. So those kind of things are there. And if we talk about our graduate program, it is highly research oriented. The kind of research, I see Mr. Lamba and all, like the kind of research which would be industry usable. This is the kind of effort, which is being done in the curriculum. And it is not like something, which is etched in stone. Hopefully every 3 years we would be having some iterations, being done in the curriculum that we
Well, this is a great opportunity, but equally a challenge, right? I mean, if they improve the quality of your graduates, all those allied industries will come and take them away before, they look at hotels. So last question, since we are out of time. What keeps you all awake at night, professionally, not personally? One thing about your work or the challenges around you which keeps you awake at night?
Finding the right talent, because we are growing in markets where, there is not much of awareness about hospitality as industry.
So it's your single biggest pain point, finding talent.
The right talent.
Deepali?
To create not the best, but the next practices for the hospitality industry and for us at IHG, so that we can be the differentiator and an employer of choice.
To create the right best practices to attract better people.
Fortunately or unfortunately, it's the excitement of fueling the growth which keeps me awake.
Okay.
not this thing. I think we've got some fantastic set of talent which is there in hospitality. Even the talent which is coming in has the right skill set and has the right attitude, if I may say so. It's just about the excitement to kind of converge these two things and make them a success story as far as growth is concerned. That's what keeps me awake.
That's a great positive spin. Sanjay?
So it's a little counterintuitive, but my biggest challenge is to make my managers not think beyond here and now.
Beyond?
Here and now. See, the problem with talent is if your manager does not invest in your growth, does not give you space to grow, the talent will never grow, right? Somehow we have gotten into this mold where we'll live quarter to quarter, month to month results. So if there's a talent which is exiting, the next reaction is to market se hire karke isko fill karo. As long as we don't invest and give chances for people to grow, we give them space and we provide opportunities to grow, it's going to be a problem. So my biggest challenge, if you ask me today, is to make my managers think beyond here and now and to start investing in people.
Indeed. Kamal?
I would end with a little suggestion to my co-panelists here. I've been in their shoes earlier in my career. What I feel is we need to do something about attracting transient manpower, transient talent into our industry. The way we are growing, it is not fair for us to expect people to commit themselves to this industry for the lifetime. We are talking about millennials, we are talking about Gen Z, alphas. These people are going to go through 3-4 career changes in their lifetime. And I think not for the lifetime, for 1 year, for 2 years, for 5 years, if we can attract the people, I think our job is done.
Great. So in conclusion, if I were to summarize, all of you spoke about some really great things which are happening. The academies you tie up with, all of you had some great things. Here's the problem. Young students wanting to even study hospitality don't know any of these things. Their perception is still what we spoke about. You go to a school counselor, she'll say, oh, hotel management, that underpaid overworked industry, koi hai bachcha to bhejenge aapke paas. It does not come across as something which is attractive, which is sexy to these young people. So all the great things you're doing, how does one harness it that the perception of our industry changes to the actual workforce? That is, I think, the biggest challenge and certainly keeps me awake every night, is that how can I help this industry change its perception to a wonderful workforce which can come and work for us. On that happy note, thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you, audience.
Thank you, Dilip.